Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal. And the next expansion of Dragonflight is fast approaching, set to launch later this month in less than 2 weeks. And the crunch is in to get our classes ready with buffs and nerfs before the release of the next expansion. Recently, we got a blog post covering some of the upcoming class changes planned for the next reset, with many of these updates making their way over into the Dragonflight beta to test at endgame content. A lot of these updates are looking to adjust our classes. Some are seeing reductions in AoE content, while others are seeing buffs, in order to bring a handful of playstyles to a better competitive standing. In this video, I wanted to go over the recent list of upcoming changes, and how your favorite playstyle could be impacted this reset in this recent Dragonflight update. But right before that, most of you guys watching these videos are still not subscribed. However, the more of you remind, the more of you do. So let's keep it going. Subscribe to the channel as well as hit the bell if you're watching these videos anyway, especially if you're looking to get regular class and content updates for all the future and upcoming Dragonflight pre-patch and beta builds. First, we're seeing reductions to Unholy Death Knights in AoE content, starting with the ability of Epidemic, which is going to see a soft cap of 8 targets, dealing less damage beyond that number. The talent of Bursting Sores, which helps increase Festering Wound AoE value, is also being reduced by 10%, where this talent is often combined with Vile Contagion, which helps spread Festering outwards, creating explosive AoE combo. Overall, this change results in slight nerfs to AoE output, up to 10% worth of overall reduction, depending on the number of targets you are fighting. Epidemic sees increasing value the more enemies it affects. In smaller pools, you won't notice much of a difference. Where you'll see a bigger impact is when you tank pools half the dungeon. For now though, the early sim numbers suggest that you shouldn't panic just yet, as Unholy is still looking up in Dragonflight even with these upcoming changes. Then we have the class of Demon Hunter, where both specs are seeing AoE reductions in the next upcoming reset. Havoc and Vengeance are seeing nerfs to Immolation Aura beyond 8 targets, which is going to cap the overall impact in AoE content. Vengeance is likely to notice this change more than Havoc, since it benefits greatly from Immolation Aura talents and passives. Havoc is also seeing reductions to the ability of Fell Rush, which is now soft cap beyond 5 targets. By itself, Fell Rush isn't really impactful, but when combined with the talent of Unbound Chaos, its value goes up, especially when fighting high numbers of short-lived targets. Overall, this looks like a general reduction to Demon Hunters in AoE and dungeon content. And it looks like even the Feral Druid was not able to evade the nerfs in this upcoming build, as Cat Druids are seeing a reduction to the talent of Tear Open Wounds. Tear Open Wounds consumes a portion of bleeds on nearby targets, dealing a portion of bleed damage to surrounding enemies. While this is a nerf to their overall AoE output, especially against high target situations, very early rough numbers suggest that this is a 5% overall reduction, though this number should be taken with a grain of salt. Feral Druids are recommended to stay calm as the spec still looks bright heading into Dragonflight. It's also possible you may use bites more often for AoE content with these recent changes. In this update, we're also seeing slight buffs to 2 specs of Hunter, mostly basic damage ability buffs which may result in impactful changes. Marksmanship is seeing its basic abilities buffed by 10%, which doesn't count towards trinket effects, auto attacks, and certain equipment procs. While this does seem like a very minor adjustment, it does finally set Marksmanship ahead of Beast Mastery, especially in AoE content and in 5-target burst situations. This also inches Marksmanship closer to Beast Mastery in single-target boss encounters, making him a bit more competitive. Survival is another spec to receive some buffs this week, with a 5% damage increase similar to the Marksmanship Hunter. This is a very small buff, so it's not overly impactful, but the early numbers do suggest that Survival is ahead of both Marksmanship and Beast Mastery in single-target encounters. In the next upcoming update, we're seeing reductions to the class of Mage, primarily to the spec of Frost and the spec of Fire. Frost is becoming a little bit less deadly, with the ability of Frozen Orb being reduced by 15%, which is a significant decrease. The ability of Blizzard will now deal reduced damage beyond 8 targets. With Blizzard, you can still help reduce the cooldown of Frozen Orb without having to worry about any target soft caps, but the raw damage reductions are going to be impactful in AoE content. Then we have the Spec of Fire, where the ability of Ignite damage is being reduced by 12%. Ignite is the Fire Mage's mastery, which causes fire spells to leave a burning effect for a portion of the overall damage. Currently, Ignite contributes a decent portion of Mage's overall single target output with the mastery focused builds. Using hard-hitting spells in quick succession allows you to stack Ignite into a powerful roaring blaze. But Ignite can also be spread to nearby targets, which allows for excellent cleave and AoE value increases. Master of Flame talent is also seeing slight reductions as well, which further helps bring down the overall Ignite value in all types of endgame content. Overall, it looks like mages are seeing nerfs in an upcoming reset, which isn't an ideal situation. Though, as I mentioned earlier, none of these numbers are final, and there's a good chance that we could see more adjustments for mages going forward with the final tuning pass before the release of Dragonflight. This week, we're also seeing a small reduction to the monk's Resonant Fist's ability, which will cause it to deal reduced damage beyond 5 targets. If you play Windwalker, then this change doesn't affect you nearly as heavily. Resonant Fist is a good proc that deals decent amount of damage, but it's just a small portion of your overall output. However, if you play Brewmaster or Mistweaver, then you'll see a noticeable reduction. It's not conclusive on just how big this nerf is going to be, mostly because Resonant proc rate is a bit sporadic. It's likely that this will result in an overall nerf, but it's still hard to tell just how big it's going to be because of the unpredictability of this passive ability. This week we also saw buffs and nerfs for the spec of Shadow Priest. The damage of Mindseer is seeing a soft cap of 5 targets, dealing reduced damage beyond that number. Most priests are capable of competitive AoE damage with the ability of Mindseer, which is mostly fueled from the free Mindseer procs thanks to the talent of Mind Devourer. Though Mind Devourer proc rate is quite low, resulting in scenarios where priests feel impactful when you get those lucky procs, and at times underwhelming when you're just simply unlucky. This change comes with a buff to the Psychic Link, which increases the cleave damage of Mind Blast, Mind Flay, and Mind Spike by up to 60% to nearby targets suffering Vampiric Touch. It is possible we could see Shadow Priest excel in cleave situations, but this change is definitely going to impact your overall output in AoE content. Then we have the class of Rogue, which is seeing buffs this week, starting with Assassination. Indiscriminate Carnage, the talent that causes bleeds to spread to nearby targets, has gained a shorter cooldown, which results in better AoE output. Then we have changes to the spec of Subtlety, where we see the basic abilities like Shuriken Storm, Shadow Strike, Black Powder, and Secret Technique get buffed in their overall damage, helping Subtlety improve its performance in single target, cleave, and AoE situations. We also see a buff to Shadow Blades, reducing its ability cooldown from 3 minutes down to 2. With the talent of Stiletto Staccato, which helps to reduce the cooldown of Shadow Blades further by 1 extra second whenever you proc Shadow Technique's passive, which results in a much shorter ability cooldown. Recently, Subtlety rogues found themselves generally behind the other specs when it comes to PvE output, so hopefully this set of changes helps them close that gap and gain some more momentum in raid and dungeon content. This week, Enhancement Shaman is seeing another damage buff. This time, Enhance is being improved by 5 extra %. Like with others, this buffs the damage of your base abilities, but things like auto attacks and trinket procs are not affected, which results in a much smaller increase. But after the initial 25% nerf, the Shaman spec keeps clawing its power back bit by bit, and I wonder if they'll have any more damage buffs planned until the release of Dragonflight. The class of Warlock is seeing a mixed bag of changes, starting with the spec of Affliction. This week we're seeing a buff to periodic damage elements, starting with the talent of Malefic Affliction, which will now increase the damage of Unstable Affliction by up to 39% for the rest of its duration, which is a significant damage increase. Dread Touch talent has also been enhanced, which causes targets suffering Malefic Affliction to take 30% more damage from periodic effects, which allows for a maintenance buff playstyle that focuses greatly on buffing corruptions, afflictions, and damage over time. Finally, the talent of Doom Blossom is also seeing damage buffs, which helps corruption gain bonus AoE output. Besides affliction, destruction is also seeing a damage buff to its Rain of Fire ability for better AoE output. While Demonology is seeing a 5-target soft cap added to the Dread Bite ability of the Dread Hounds, which is modified to cleave with the Dread Lash talent. And finally, we have the class of Warrior, starting with a spec of Fury, where we see a cap to the ability of Odin's Fury, reduced in damage beyond 8 targets, which is going to impact your burst capability in AoE content, especially with a spec that's already target capped for cleave. Then we have the spec of Arms Warrior. Execution's Precision is going to make Mortal Strike stacks a little bit deadlier. The passive of Blood Surge is going to proc more often, which fuels you full of resources. And the damage of Blaze Storm is being flatly buffed by 10%. And for now, that's going to be the full list of changes that we are expected to see in this upcoming reset of the Dragonflight pre-patch, with a lot of these changes already making their way on the Dragonflight beta. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about some of the upcoming AoE nerfs for a handful of classes, with many abilities becoming soft cap? And what are your thoughts of some of the upcoming buffs, like minor adjustments for Hunter and Shaman, as well as improvements for Subtlety Rogues and changes to the spec of Shadow Priest? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. As per usual, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as always, in the description of every single live stream and video, we have a link to our Discord community channel. Probably the best place to reach out to me directly in case you want to let me know what you thought about this video, or discuss with the other members of the community what you think about the upcoming changes. Join our Discord to become part of the community. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.